Habari. Hello, and welcome to Fontonfrom. I'm your host, Sarah Onyango. Today on the show, we're going to be talking to two women who are members of the Mama Watali organization, and we'll talk about the work they do here in Ottawa and the work they've been doing overseas. And I'm very pleased to welcome to the show today Susan Namulindwa. She is the founding director of Mama Watali, and Anne Clark, who is the organization's project lead and administrator. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you. It's so
So,
nice.
just can you tell us very quickly a little about yourself, and then we'll get into how you founded Mama Watali and why.
Okay, well, I am Susan Namlindra, as you have indicated, and I'm happy to be here. I am born, raised, and educated in Uganda, but I call Ottawa home by choice. I've been here so many winters, and I like it here. So there's a good mix of Ugandan and Canadian in me, and this is so beautiful to talk about this today.
And so, what is your background in terms of profession?
By profession, I'm an industrial chemist, but I do not practice industrial chemistry. I run Africa Trade Desk, so that love of juggling between the continent and Canada has kept me busy. And then I do Mama Watali and all this as hard work. But my actual profession is I run Africa Trade Desk as a business.
Mm-hmm. And tell us a bit about yourself.
I was born in Trinidad, and they shipped me off to England. I finished school there, lived there for many years. And then when people started traveling, I came to Canada. And I've been here, I've stopped counting. It is over 40 years that I've been in Canada.
Winters.
Many winters, yes, many winters. I like that.
So what is your training, your background?
My training is as a public policy analyst, researcher, and I have a medical administration background, which is where I started off. And all of that has morphed into being a gender specialist and curious about the rights of women and their equity.
And that's something you both have in common: women's empowerment, gender issues, gender-based violence. So tell us about Mama Watali. First of all, what does that mean?
Mama Watali is Luganda. It means in the absence of a mother.
Oh.
So it was born when my own mom passed away, but out of a realization of what important role mothers play, even when she's not giving advice or you don't have a real issue, you call her and whatever ails you goes away. So it was born to primarily at that time to help teenage mothers and teenage girls in Uganda right out when AIDS had just ravaged Uganda, and there was a lot of AIDS orphans having babies. So that's where it started, and helping the grandmothers that we are now raising these children. So that's the start of Mama Watali. It has now morphed into work right here, and based on the needs of the Black women in Ottawa and violence and gender-based violence. Again, because immigrants come and mothers are far away, that mama's absence makes a huge difference. And so we formed, Mama Watali was already formed, but we started the work in Canada here to address that gender-based violence and people trying to flee and rebuild their lives with their children.
So Anne, can you tell us about how you came to this organization?
I met her just before COVID started at the community meeting when an organization formed Chamber of Commerce. They wanted to do, as part of that African Trade Desk. And having been self-employed and doing contracts, I was interested. So I went to that community meeting, and it was really interesting. As Susan presented, it was what I wasn't hearing, because people were asking a lot of questions about the structure of the organization, the governance, and we were getting different kinds of answers that we needed more clarification on. after the meeting, I went up to her and said, I really am interested. I want to learn more. Why don't you come for breakfast? And she came for breakfast at my house. And I said, tell me a little bit about you. I liked her personality and the fact that she didn't give a lot, but it's what she didn't say that was curious. As a researcher, I started digging. And she told me about Mama Watali and what she was doing and what she would like to do here because of all of the challenges that she had been coming up against in not just, well, in the Black community, in the African diaspora community. And I was familiar with some of it in the context of the Caribbean. I knew more about the Caribbean challenges of women than the African, so it made sense. I said, well, that's what I do. How can I help? And here we are today.
Yeah. So let's talk about
that's it.
Yeah, let's talk about
in a nutshell.
where we are today. Thanks, Anne. So let's talk about where we are today. Can you give us an idea of the specific programs that you run here or initiatives that you run here?
So, Anne, you want to take that?
As the project lead.
Yeah.
Our first set of funding was with the Red Cross, COVID-19 Red funding, community funding, and we created webinars for women around understanding gender violence, what it really is, how you can identify it, and prevention around that, because that was the key thing, education and prevention. We did 15 webinars, 8, and then we ran based on the recommendations of the first set of webinars that looked at nowhere to turn, women and the law. We developed another set based on those recommendations, and all we did about 15 to 18 webinars, and we looked at faith and violence, how the doctrines are used to manipulate women.
So a lot of education.
A lot of education.
Yeah, so the education, the awareness.
Right. We got priests, we got social workers, we got people who work in the movement. We did international, we brought in people internationally, and it was a good thing for Zoom in one sense.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody was on Zoom and nobody was going outside. So
yes,
you had a captive
We had
audience.
a captive audience, and people learned a lot. We got amazing.
Yeah, I attended some of those webinars.
Feedback.
Yeah.
People had no idea. Looking at finances, a huge aspect of that. And culture. Culture was a huge thing. How you interact with intergenerational norms and dealing with Canadian-born immigrant parents and all of the other pieces.
Yeah. So
And here we are right now. You want to talk a little bit more about
post-COVID.
Post-COVID, well, building up on the findings that we had with those webinars, we morphed into like adding a little bit of more, support for the women. Sometimes you're ready to leave, but you don't know where to go. Or you're not ready to leave, but you're just, again, going back to that absence of a mother. You need somebody to talk to. So we have since created support circles. So support circles are really what it is. So it's you and I and Anne sitting. None of us is a professional, but we can share our ideas and we can tell each other where services are. So that is going well. So we now created the save of them, even the ones for youth, because the youth, girls and boys, all even as young as 10, 12 years old, experience violence and they don't know where to go. So we have creating mentors. Mentors, again, around the idea of supporting these people to find resources and to get healthy, because we need healthy, strong men and strong women. I'm surprised Anne didn't talk about the Strong Men and Strong Women series, because we are looking really intentionally to keep the families together if we can. If we can't, then support the women that are out there with their children. So in Ottawa now we we got a great partnership with Fourth Avenue Baptist Church. And we're in the process of really looking at a feasibility of getting a second house, second stage housing for the women escaping violence. The conversation is new because we still need to really figure out, is it feasible? What is happening? So that is part of the exciting work we're going to do.
And especially in a context where there's a housing crisis. You know, the vacancy rate is like this. And whatever housing you can find is not always of the highest quality.
But part of the support circles, what we did, we had an intensive 3-day training program for women. So even though they might not have been a trained facilitator or listener, the training taught them how to be listeners and gave them the tools in order to work with the women who they met, who they will meet. So it's really exciting. They're on their own with the support of Mama Watali, because I'm a trained social worker, and we have a practicum student who will also be working with the women as support, as a liaison, listening to them, making sure that they don't have to have all the answers, and to know that they've got people there that will be helping to guide them as they create and develop their support groups.
Yeah, so that's great that you have these partnerships and that you're also bringing in people from the community, students, people who have, you know, backgrounds like yourself, social work. I want to turn now to the international work, because for such a young organization, you've already sort of turned abroad. So tell us about that, Susan.
This is like so fresh and so new. So we have this thing called Girls Run. So Girls Run was born out of I love to run. And
well, you're East African.
East African, and that's the home of all the runners. I mean,
long distance though.
Marathon runners.
Yes.
Even sprint. Well, sprinting, and will get me. But marathon runners. So there is talking about girls. Girls in a lot of countries, East African countries, not only East African countries. It's not only there, but even here. Poverty creates something called girls' period poverty. Period poverty is when a girl cannot afford to buy the sanitary items they need to have during their period. Now, when you think about 3-4 days out of a girl's life, especially when they are at a school age, they are missing school 3-4 days a year. I mean a month, and they can't keep up. So they end up the shaming, the whole idea of not being able. When they miss school, the boys know, and the boys tease them. And when they have, so anyway, that is period poverty. So what we wanted to do was to bring awareness to period poverty. The only thing I knew how to do is by running. So we created this Girls Run period to bring awareness around period poverty. And where else, if you want to run, do you go to run? You go to,
all the way to
East Africa, where
Nandi County.
The marathon runners are born. And in this particular case, we're talking about the GOAT himself, the fastest runner in the world right now. He holds the old marathon runner, Eliud
Kipchoge.
So we went to Nandi County. We had a 3-day event there.
So for our viewers, Nandi County is in Kenya.
In Kenya, Rift Valley.
East Africa.
Over 7,000 feet above sea level, and I did not take warm clothes.
It was cold.
It was cold.
And it was cold.
Yeah.
But so we went to Nairobi and then trekked up north, east, west, or whatever. You're Kenyan, you will help me. But anyway, we went up in the Rift Valley and we held this event at his hometown. There's this beautiful library. So that story is so amazing that we had over 6,000 participants.
Oh, wow. Local?
So local participants. So we went with a team of 5 daring women. Anne came with me, and 3 other ladies
From Canada.
From Canada, and so we had partners on the ground. It was incredible that so as part of the empowerment, women empowerment, we have these reusable kits done. So they are reusable. One kit is about $20, but it lasts a girl 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So when you think about the whole idea that for 3 years, if she's just 12 until 15, if she looks after this kit, she can stay in school. So we had a cross-country run, whole day festival really. The program started on Friday. We visited some schools. We had mentoring with 50. They invited 50 schools. So we had girls coming in buses. 30 schools brought buses of girls. So the whole sea, as you will see in the pictures, is full of girls. So we had mentoring sessions with them, and then we had the run, and then we had dancing, and it was a fabulous sunny day. And at the end, we gave away 6,000 of these kits.
Of these kits, yeah.
So that means that 6,000 girls.
How did you raise the money though to get the kits? Because that's $20 a piece, and there's 6,000 of them. How did you?
People donated. Girls Run is a charitable organization. You can get a receipt for your donation, and it is registered in Canada. So anyone can donate. We got sponsors. Rubis, it's a petrol company. They gave us the T-shirts. This was organized in such a short space of time, I think less than 3 months.
Wow.
Susan started explaining to me some of the things and that was happening, and she said, and I said, I'll come. And she said they'd like us to do some health workshops, maybe some stuff, and she knew it would be a hook for me, women's empowerment, girls' empowerment. And I said, yeah, of course. I paid my own way, and we all paid our own way. And we went, and I had no idea what to expect. I had no expectations. On the Friday, all of these children in their school uniforms, it was about over 2,000 came that on Friday. The Saturday was a total of about 6,000. We had about 314, I remember that number, in the different age categories of runners.
Oh, wow. Okay.
People on the ground organized the running, because it's a running community. So people participated. And all of these children were just looking at us. I didn't know I could act.
But Anne, let me ask you, was this your first trip to Africa?
It's not my first trip. It was my first trip to Kenya. I'd been to Ethiopia, I've been to Egypt and the surrounding areas. My roots are in Ghana, and I haven't ended up in Ghana yet. Hopefully I will. So it's part of the slave trade system. And I felt at home. It was phenomenal. Yes, I know you're going to ask me that question. But I loved it. I was at home. I enjoyed it. We worked. We all knew what we wanted to do in terms of talking about health, talking about no means no. But you had all these children looking at you. So you were not you were in a workshop of 400, depending on the group, because they put everybody in age groups. Even, from 4 up. And so you had to do, right, you spoke at their level.
But that's what a lot of our teachers in East Africa and elsewhere in Africa have to deal with, where you have a classroom, you can have 100 kids in that one classroom of different ages. Because there just is not the money, the budget to hire enough teachers to split up the groups, etc. So just
go ahead. Sorry.
What were the outcomes really you were looking for, other than delivering those kits?
We really wanted to know what the community needs, because as an African, I've been there where outsiders come and they say they know what you want. So we did a bit of consultation. We did consultation with the mothers pre the running.
On
we
Friday.
wanted to know what is it? What issues do they see with their girls and with their children? And that and a whole lot of issues. There is the poverty, but then there's the underlying issues. Most of it can be solved by a little bit of empowerment of the women getting their voices. So we learned that, and as a result of that consultation, we even we got the girls to write down things that they cannot tell, they could not ask right there, or they can't tell their teachers and whatever. So we got that and we brought those back, and we have done a report. We did let the community leaders know what we found, because it was much more than running. It was much more than just a race and fun on one day. We didn't want to go and ask things and then say goodbye. We've gone back to Canada. See you around
some
next
nice
year.
Pictures and nice
yeah,
video
nice
and
pictures.
It wasn't. It was heartbreaking in some ways, in that sense, of reading the stories. We got over 45 cards in such a short space of time, because as I said, we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know how many schools would turn up or what it would look like. It was a blank slate. Susan didn't know either in that sense.
But then you got there and you were confronted with this.
We were confronted with this. Yeah. It's not 20 people in a workshop.
Yeah, it's kind of overwhelming.
It was. To a certain degree, but you didn't allow that to stop you. And some of the stories about understanding my period, what is a period, how do you manufacture it, understanding the language of your anatomy.
Yes,
so
exactly.
I realized that when I was growing up, you didn't do that kind of anatomy at school. And they're like 25 years in terms of teaching, this is my body, do not touch it. I will give you permission if I choose to.
But just so
or
you know,
not.
biology it's not taught all that well because you don't have enough properly trained teachers. And then there's the taboo, right?
There's a lot of taboo.
Yeah.
Especially in the area we're in. So some things, even when we had to give the results, we had to get the elder, like we had Eliud himself, Kipchoge said, let me take this first. So he had to talk to the people first before we could even, tell them what we confronted. But the joy of that and the biggest outcome that we got was that the community got to find out from their community leaders the issues that were sitting with the girls and the women in the community. And as a result, there's an ongoing conversation. So the county government and even Ike's foundation himself, they want to partner and solve some of these issues. So it was, for a very short period of time, I think we moved a monumental piece, even if we say
and we
so
gave
ourselves.
the girls a different kind of voice by telling them, this is not your fault.
Yes, yeah.
Parents are supposed to care and love you and protect you. And at the same time, you had on the other hand, you your parents are poor. Where do I get my pad from?
Right, yeah.
And what are the choices I have? So you have all of that to start having conversations around. And we have promised to go back.
Yeah.
And the conversations are opening up.
But before we run out of time, I have to ask, because I'm a big fan, Eliud Kipchoge, you mentioned EK. Eliud Kipchoge, the GOAT.
The GOAT.
What were your impressions of him when you met this world-class Olympic medalist, gold medal, Diamond League winner? winner of all marathons
He was
ever invented.
phenomenal. He was beautiful. I mean, the whole thing was phenomenal. And I have to find another
But what about him,
descriptive
though?
adjective.
Him,
He is amazing.
I think he's more than amazing.
She introduced me
like-
as her mother, right? In that sense, a Canadian mother. And he gave me his full attention. I had the opportunity to ask him, will you be our champion? We're looking for a champion. Because we talked about it, and I guess the elder part came in, right? So I got that.
So before we,
He was beautiful.
yes.
He
So
spent the whole day with us.
before we go, I'd like our viewers to know how they can find you. How can they find?
They
Mama
can
Watali?
find us at mamawatali.org. We have girlsrunperiod.org. And before we go, we got to tell them that anybody who wants to go, we are going back again in February.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to be starting to register so people can register to come. It's February, it's winter here. What better place to be than
So
in
they'll just
Rift
go
Valley?
on the website
On
and
the
do
website,
that?
the information will
Well,
be there.
And we're going to
Thank-
be looking for all different kinds of
Yeah.
skills. And so as
Right.
we focus more
Yeah.
on planning and having conversations with Kenya, yes.
So thank you very much, both of you, for the work that you are doing with our girls in Kenya. I am from Kenya, so, you know, it's close to my heart. And I wish you much success as you continue this work. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Sarah.
Yeah, this was
It's
great.
Beautiful.
We hope you enjoyed today's program. We do like to hear from our viewers, so please write to us and do tune in next time for another wonderful edition of Fontonfrom right here on Rogers TV. Kwaheri and bye for now.